Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2022 Valero Texas Open. This is my Before the Lock show, and first and foremost, thank you for stopping by, checking me out. I'm going to cover all the information you need for players that are below 7K, give you my top 5. We're going to do ownership projections. I'm going to do one and done again just in case you missed it yesterday. I'm going to talk weather, everything that I can possibly give you guys to make sure you get the best lineups in before the lock, and also maybe some thoughts for our final bets. With that said, let's talk some golf. And first off and foremost, yes, I have a Masters tournament giveaway. What is this, you ask? I am randomly going to select 5 winners to win $100 that I will PayPal over to you. And all you need to do is simply click that like button. If you like, share it with somebody else. And subscribe if you're not a subscriber, because I need you to put in the comments below who you think you are going to win the Masters. A lot of you guys have already responded. I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you for the positive comments. Always appreciate that too. So again, real quickly, picking 5 winners to win $100. I will do that on my Before the Lock show next week, Wednesday. And all you need to do is click the like button, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and just tell me who do you think is going to win the Masters. Okay, let's get on with this. All right, so real quick, as always, if you missed yesterday's or the preview show, I have selected the areas that I think we need from a skill set. Now, even though we've seen in the past that this course can tend to have many different kind of winners, from plotters to bombers, but ultimately what we've seen is that you don't have to hit the ball very far. You just have to hit it very accurate off the tee. You got to be good with the irons. You got to have a good short game around the green. Ball striking does come in effect. You have some long par 5s you can take advantage of. You've got drivable par 4s. You got some long par 3s. So ball striking, funny enough, some people are saying, and even I was kind of on the fence from a putting perspective, that you don't have to be that great of a putter. These are some tricky greens. It's going to be depending. They're going to be a little slower. So, but which is funny because they're supposed to be setting us up for the Masters. So you would think they would try to get the greens rolling faster. So we'll see how that all plays out. There is going to be some wind. It should be dry, so I think it'll get quicker no matter if they're running at 11 right now. I would have to guess they get 12 by the weekend. So you're going to need to be able to putt as always. Scrambling sand saves, ton of sand here, ton of deep bunkers. Supposedly they have redone the sand traps. I don't know what that means. I don't know if they got rid of the brown sand, brought in white. Who knows? We'll see how that affects. But I did read from the superintendent kind of notes that they redid the traps last year. The proximity of the pins that we're going to be focused on, the highest is 150 to 175. That comes at 20%. Then you got these shorter ones, 75 to 100, 100 to 125. Add those together, that's 22%. That's the areas that I'm looking at. Of course, I mentioned the 4 par 4s. 2 are very gettable. I think all of them, depending on your length, you can reach in 2. But there is some ones that are 600 yards, hence you see below. Then you got also a course defense here, which would be the long par 3s. There's 3 of those. And last but not least, we've seen over the past few years where guys can go high teens to 20 under. I think Corey Connor shot 20 under to win this in 2019. So we got neat guys that, it's not a putting contest, but there is definitely, going to need to score. And then lastly, the model analysis that I did. Of course, I always do comparable courses to kind of maybe just push me over the edge on one player or not. I think Sanderson Farms, the CC of Jackson, is the best course, I think, from a comparable side. If you look at yardage, if you look at how the course plays, if you look at even some, kind of past winners and who's done well on both tracks, it's also very tight. It's tree-lined. I think CC of Houston, or actually I guess it's Country Club of Houston, or Memorial Park where they play the Houston Open, right? That was the tournament that used to be set up for the Masters, was always the week before, but I think they lost a sponsor. And now they've been, they had Vivint, they had HP. So since then, that's when this got reshuffled and the Valero snuck in. You got Wells Fargo, where a better field typically plays, right, for the Quail Hollow. At Quail Hollow, of course, the President's Cup's coming up there. But I think there's some similarities, distance, Bermuda. There's some trees, not as tight. Rough is typically higher there. Also on a side note, the rough here is going to be cut at 2 1/4, 2 inches and a quarter, which is supposed to be around the same as from the Masters. Then you got the API where there's more water involved, but it's got the distance. It's got the Bermuda greens. It's a par 72. And then last, I threw an RBC Heritage just because I want to see guys that can navigate a more technical course, that you have to be very accurate. And also for these guys, I threw in the John Deere because we have a kind of not a great field. I mean, we have a top heavy, and then it kind of just falls off a cliff. So I also want to see guys like Glover, who's won over at the John Deere, and some of the guys, it just seemed like there was some correlation. Anyways, those are bent greens, but you have to be accurate. It is more of a technical course. So we'll see how that all shakes out. All right, with that said, I'm going to jump over to Fantasy National, show you the guys that I'm looking at below 7K, give you my recommendations, and then we'll go over ownership projections, weather, and then we'll get you out of here. Okay, I've jumped over into Fantasy National, and as always, to give my little spiff for these guys, an amazing tool. You can try it out for a week, you can try it out for a month. I highly recommend it, and it's what I use and what we're going to be looking at Fantasy National with a focus on DraftKings pricing, but of course you can use this on Yahoo, FanDuel, wherever you're doing your DFS. And again, this is with a focus on the larger GPP tournaments. I would not recommend head-to-head or cash playing. Impossible, these guys below 7K. Now, if you're trying to put two higher ups, like, if you're trying to stick a Rory and a DeChambeau or something like that, then you're going to be down this range. So, you can try it. But again, I wouldn't recommend maybe even single entry. Maybe try to stay away from these guys. But neither here or there. I have looked, and I think I've got about 15 guys that I'm interested in below 7K. I'm going to talk about in depth the 5 guys that I like the most. Just so you know, I already went through and filtered this. So I took all those comparable courses and ran that against the guys that are 7K and below. That gave me a first pass. Second pass is now looking at the last 12 rounds. So recent form, no filters on over here. And then using my smaller model. So this is really focused on the things that these guys I think have to do well, which is, hit the fairways, good with the irons, good around the green, that proximity for 150, and then, of course, putting. You're going to see how they're doing from a birdie perspective over the last 3 tournaments they played. You've got recent results in tournament history. Okay. Right out of the gate, the guy that interests me, and this is not by, let's do it this way. We'll do it by salary. So the number one guy at 7,000, Mateus Schwab. I think he's a good play. He's not going to make my top 5, but I want to just give you a little information on him. So he's never played here, and so I'm only picking one guy that has never played this course. I do believe there is some nuances to these greens and the quadrants that you need to land the ball. There's a lot of runoff. You can get yourself in some hairy positions. You could turn which looked like a birdie opportunity into quickly a bogey or double bogey. This green complexes are tricky, and anybody tells you otherwise, they just don't know the course very well. So trust me on that. So with that said, I am leaning towards guys that have at least some course history here, and when I'm getting below the 7K, just to let you know. All right, but from a model standpoint, Mateus Schwab, you can see, not that great at Corrales and a pretty weak field, but tons of wind. But before that, he had a good showing at Puerto Rico, Honda, Pebble Beach, missed a cut at the Valspar. But you can see how this field, he drives it a little better than half the field. And if I click on Mateus, of course, he's a DP World European guy. I believe he must have somehow gotten the Masters if he's over here. That's why he's playing. But you can see, it doesn't hit very long, kind of like a Corey Connors, but is pretty accurate, so that's good. And it looks like off the tee is where he's had his issues. But that could literally be just doesn't have the distance. So you don't gain strokes off the tee if you're not, hitting it far enough. You could be hitting a ton of fairways. But everything else is checking out pretty solid. So from a ball striking perspective, you want to put it that way, everything looks good. The 150 is a little less than I want it to be. But I think Mateus Schwab at 7K is a solid play. Now, the one guy that is not going to rate out from a modeling perspective, and you saw him on my opening screen, is Cameron Champ. And I don't think anybody's talking about Cameron Champ. And that's fine. That's a good thing. You can see projected ownership is at 2%, probably be less when it's all said and done. I'm high on this guy, but I've always kept an eye on Cameron Champ. He's an elite talent that he spikes and then he goes away. And if you missed my pick show, I went into quite in depth. But long story short, he's won 3 times. We can pull that up real quick while we're at it. Of course, he's very elite off the tee, very long. He hits a low ball flight, which I think is great for the wind. The main, also what started me thinking about Cameron Champ, there's 2 guys that are in this tournament that live in the area and belong to this course and practice here a ton. And that's Cameron Champ and Abraham Answer. So if you didn't know that, you know that now. Now, has that resulted in great finishes here for either of these guys? Nope. Now, have they both made cuts and came in, 30th, 40th, whatever it is? Yes, but I still think, of course, you have family there. There's probably some reasons, but you get to sleep in your own bed. I don't know. I think it's an advantage for sure. You should know every miss. You should know every place to put the ball. No excuses. All right, moving on about Cameron Champ, why I like him. Of course, putting is where it all comes down. So if we click on Cameron Champ, now the number one comparable course that I like, as I mentioned, is Sanderson Farms. If I click on it for you, you can see it's going to show you, it's got the length. It's a par 72. It's got the Bermuda greens. These greens are actually faster, and hitting fairways is difficult. It's tight. So from, like I said, a playability is very similar. If you also look, typically Cameron Champ wins every year. Now, he didn't win in 2020 during, the COVID kind of shutdown, but he won in 2018. Now, the Fortinet, that's a bit different. If you look at that track, of course, that's POA. It's less than 7,200, but hitting fairways difficult. So there's, you can make some very, very lengthy try to correlate, but I don't think they correlate. And then the 3M Open, which I don't mind. Again, that's bent greens. There's a lot of water. Again, you have to be very accurate off the tee. And I do believe that's from a distance between 72 to 7,400. Somewhat, hitting fairways, that's all dependent, it's saying, on the wind. But again, it's a par 71. But I'm not so worried about that. It's, again, his knowledge of this course, his length off the tee and accuracy is typically, when he's on, he's on. But you can also see what needs to happen for Cameron to win. Typically, he's got to gain with the putter. Now, gaining 8.5 and 9, I'd never see that. But he also is one gaining 2 strokes with the putter. So if Cameron Champ somehow could come out of here and be viable with the putter and just gain a couple strokes, could also do it. Also, what I went over, let me do this for you. And I kind of did the same thing. Now I'm going to lose my mind trying to think who it was. Oh, Sam Burns, who just won, of course, again, back-to-back the Valspar. I said there was some correlation. If you remember, I showed Sam Burns missed 3 cuts, came in and then won Valspar. Well, if you go back and look at what, of course, before he actually, Cameron Champ actually won the 3M Open, same thing. Look at this. Miscut. He showed some life at the John Deere with his putter. That was what was most unique for me. It wasn't even what he did off the tee, but he had an 11th and then came and won the 3M Open. And then if we kind of look here, what's going on, it's very similar. I mean, he's not in good form. Now, I didn't get a good showing at the Players, but a lot of guys, I can't really hold that against him. Long story short, I bet him outright, 181 to win. I don't think he really will win this. I mean, there's that 1 in a million shot, but I think he's a good play down here, get you to the weekend, and possibly could top 20, and that's a big differentiator of 6,900. So, and also you get the ownership projection. So I'm all in. It could be a terrible fail. I'm not telling you to go mortgage the house. I'm not telling you to bet anything on this guy. I'm just telling you that if you want to get unique, if you want a guy that could pop, this is the guy. And again, like I said, he's made some cuts. And his tournament history here, it's not brutal. It's not great, but a T34 last year, a T73 before that. So we'll see. All right, the next guy I'm looking at is Nate Lashley. I've talked to you guys a lot about this. I got to watch him in kind of his maiden victory at the Rocket Mortgage, where I don't know if he Monday qualified. I get it screwed up with Doc Redman because they both like snuck into the field. I don't know if they were just like an alternate, if I remember correctly, but it doesn't matter. He's been playing good golf. He had a T7 at Puerto Rico, a good showing at Valspar, pretty good showing at Corrales just recently. Putts well on Bermuda when he does putt well. You can see the driver over the last 3 tournaments has been really clicking. What I've always thought of him, and again, I got to see it live, is just an amazing iron play when he won the Rocket Mortgage. Decent around the green, good for the 150. Now the putter, again, is, but you can see he's making birdies. So the putter must be, doing something. Let's take a look here. You see over his career does gain on Bermuda. So when he does, typically do well. So he don't got a ton, but he did gain at the Valspar on Bermuda, gained 2.5 strokes. I lost at the Honda quite significantly, and the Amex as POA. He typically shows up, or is that, I'm thinking Pebble Beach. He had a good showing at Pebble Beach the year before. I think he had a top, let's go take a look here. Yeah, he had a 28th, but that's not what, so it must have been the Amex. Maybe I get those two sometimes. Yeah, that 12th. I think that's the one I'm thinking of. Neither here or there. I like Nate Lashley. He, from a he's missed the cut twice here. But under recent form and what I know he can do, I think it's a solid play. So I'm going to be on Nate Lashley. He's going to be in quite a few of my lineups if I'm down in this area. Sam Ryder, I'm just calling out. He's made 4 out of the last 5 cuts, right? He had the hole in one at the Waste Management, was all the buzz. What he does, I actually like him probably more for a showdown play because he makes a ton of birdies, even possibly an eagle, and then he makes a lot of bogeys too. But you can see he's made 2 out of the last 3 cuts. Um, let's go see Sam Ryder. The driver is what's showing up that could be a little less than 60%, so he's not terrible. Gains a tiny bit on Bermuda over his career. I just want to go see. So the putter has been pretty hot. Hence what I was talking about. The irons could be hit or miss, and same with the driver. So, like I said, he's not making my top 5. I just think he's an interesting play. He does these things very well, the 150 in, the putting, and like I said, probably more of a showdown for me. All right, Austin, the Smother Man. You guys have heard me, if you've been watching me for a while, talk a lot about this guy. I think he's the Will Z, the cheap Will Z. That's my own personal opinion. I think the guy's elite from what I've seen. Tee to green. It's the putter and maybe around the green, as you see, he needs to improve on, which we saw that with Victor Hovland. These elite ball strikers. Of course, he played at Southern Methodist, so he has a Texas background. I'm guessing he's had to play this course a bit, or that's a guess. You can see on my model ranking, he comes up 14th out of this whole field, so the model loves him. The guy's been playing good golf. Yes, he missed a cut at Corrales and Honda, but good showing at the Valspar, the Puerto Rico, Pebble Beach. And he's the only guy of these below that I'm recommending from a top 5 perspective that has never played the track. But again, I'm in a PGA event. I'm suspecting in his amateur days, even maybe in college, he's had to play here. Let's go click. I think he played the AT&T Canyons course, which is the other course. Let me just go see this real quick. Yeah, so he had a 4th here back in 2020. But again, that's the AT&T Oaks. Well, no, that's the Oaks course. One of them was the Canyons. Now, it says that, and we had the same discussion about Davis Riley. So maybe those guys did play this course. Anyways, so maybe he played here in the Corn Ferry Tour. But I'm a fan of Austin Smotherman. He doesn't have a ton of data, a ton of like comp courses we're going to be able to look at. But let's go take a look. So, you can weigh that one. He has played here in a Corn Ferry event, had a 4th. Of course, where he got on my radar was at the Farmers. I knew of him, but really never got to watch a lot of golf out of him. But to play Torrey Pines South course and have an 11th, that's crazy. For me, I think that's a great showing. Of course, the Valspar, he showed up here recently. I'm trying to see where he's had some Pebble Beach, the RSM, so a couple shorter tracks. The Fort Netty made the cut. So again, I think right now you get a good price on him, and when he pops again, we're not going to be getting that same price, especially in this kind of field. Adam Svensson, same thing. If you've been with me for a while, of course, he had a pretty good coming out party back, I think it was like 2016, and then lost his card, then got it back not too long ago. So if I click on this, you can see he had a couple wins to get back after the Corn Ferry to get promoted back to the PGA. Had a 2nd. Then he's had a 7th at the Sony recently. Here's that San Antonio again. Now, see, that's funny. This says the Canyon. So maybe they like alternated, where they played. I don't know. So it's very weird. Same year. So I don't have a clear answer on that. But you can see, again, a lot like Smotherman, very good ball striker. The guy, if you get to watch him, he'll make you a nervous wreck inside of 5 feet, even inside 3 feet. I think it was at the Honda. I had him in quite a few lineups, and if he could have just made some 3-footers, the guy could have ended either won that tournament or even at least, top 3. Let's go look at that real quick. Yeah, he lost 4.5 strokes to the putter. Tee to green gained almost 12 strokes. So the guy was just in fuego ball striking. So you can see he's had some good showings. I think he's also a good showdown play. If you play showdown, his ownership's around 7%. So people are seeing these. You can see, we'll get into this more. So I've got a couple that are differentiators, and then I got a couple that are for, below 7K, a little chalky. He has played here once back in 2019 and had T42. So those are my top 4. And then I'm just going to run through some of these guys for you that I don't I wouldn't shoot you for playing it. I'm sure I might plug him in. Of course, Kevin Chappell, great course history here. Past winner in 2017. Had a T14. I remember he had the back problems. I don't know if it was a car wreck. I forgot what exactly happened. That he was out of golf for like a year and a half, and then played on medical exemption. And I think that's ran out. And I think he's just getting his spot starts as we speak. But he had a good showing at Corrales. Probably what got him into this tournament. Nothing great. Typically, I always say Kevin Chappell. I think he's got an early tee time. Don't quote me. Take a look at that. But what I was saying was for a first round leader, I think he's an interesting first round leader bet. But yeah, I think Kevin Chappell, someone that you could plug and play and feel pretty good that he could get you the weekend. He actually had an interview. I'm trying to remember now. It was actually, I think, yesterday, the day before on the PGA Tour radio. Maybe it was with Dennis Paulson inside the ropes. And he talked about that in a short way that he was partying a little bit, and I think he even almost missed a tee time. It doesn't matter. Long story short, he's cut out the party and cut out the liquor. He's refocused. This was like, I don't know, 6 months, a year ago. So maybe he's finally said, hey, I got to really take this serious, especially under his circumstances where he's at. All right, get off Kevin Chappell. Now to Doc Redman. I mentioned him with Nate Lashley, of course, at the Rocket Mortgage. Doc Redman has these spikes, but ultimately he is a really good ball striker. It's around the green and putter. He's played here once also, had a T44, so he at least has some course history. Let's go take a look at Doc. I'm just curious if maybe on the Corn Ferry he also played in that San Antonio Challenge or whatever, if it shows up. Of course, he had shown at the Palmetto. I mentioned the Rocket Mortgage. I'm going to see anywhere else. The Houston Open, that's a while ago. Let's see. Yeah, that's at the Golf Club of Houston. So I think that's a better comp than Memorial, to be honest. Let's see anything else I see here. And at 28th at Sanderson Farms back in 2020. A couple showings at Sanderson Farms. So, again, it just shows you have to be a really good ball striker. Made some cuts at the API. I always thought he hit the ball a little further, but he's kind of that prototypical, again, like a Corey Connors off the tee. So you can see he's had at least a putter, has been, gaining strokes. He's getting his driver and his irons back a little bit. He went through a stretch right here, I guess, with all these missed cuts back in the summer, late, fall of the irons just went away. Because there was a while, I think it was probably right around here, these 4 tournaments. You had a 9th, a 2nd, where he was, all talked about. It's kind of funny. I mean, the analysts or guys like me that do this stuff, we see something, we get, he becomes like the hot commodity, and then as quickly as that can fall off a radar. So I think Doc Redman's a solid play down here. JJ Spawn, I've been talking about him quite a bit. He's feeling healthy. He's kind of found his game. You can see, a couple missed cuts, but before that, he was making the cuts. He's had, made 4 out of the last 5. You can see from a driving perspective, that's probably what got me thinking. The guy is going to hit you fairways. He's been good with the irons. It's, what's the putter going to do with JJ Spawn? So he can have those crazy kind of spikes. You can see again, 290, almost 70%. Let's go take a look at the putter, what's been going on. So a 52nd on Bermuda. Yeah, to gain about a stroke, had a 30th at the Honda. That's Bermuda. This is where I kind of noticed him. So I've been back, not even at the Bermuda, which is Bermuda, but the RSM is where he came back kind of on my radar. Had a 16th. Of course, that's Bermuda. You got Poa. So that's kind of the West Coast swing. So anyways, I think JJ Spawn, he's going to make my top 5. Hammer and Hank, right? We were for a while there during the summer. I was really waiting for him to get a win. I think I even bet him at Corrales just to, he seemed like he started to kind of find his form again, and I'll go back. I'll show this to you. Of course, he's a lefty, and he had a stretch right here. So here's that summer of 21. I mean, 13th, 17th, 5th, 4th, and 8th, like especially the Wyndham, which is a pretty easy track. I thought, here we go, but it did not happen. And then he went on this crazy stretch where he just completely lost his game. And I still don't think I remember, maybe it was an injury. I don't recall. But then he came out, had a 15th at the Houston Open, kind of out of nowhere. And then again, on this miscuts, and then, kind of like just mediocre. So, anyways, I think, for 6,600, less than 1% owned, I think Hammer and Hank could be an interesting leverage play. Again, looking at a large tournament kind of perspective. Tyler Duncan, man, he's been playing pretty good golf. I recommend him in Showdown. I also bet him for a first round leader because he can come out. And I've said this before, which it wasn't too long ago. I don't know which tournament. It was a few tournaments ago. He came out and shot almost like course record, like a 62 or 3, and then literally came out and shot an 80. So that's the volatility with these guys down here. But if you take a look at what he's been doing, out of the last 5 tournaments, he's made the cut 4 out of the 5 in a T35, a T25, a T28. Less than 5% owned, so he's not super chalky. The model likes him. He's doing everything. It's just the putter. Bryce Garnett's been playing some good golf. He fits under that Brian Stewart kind of plotters. Again, made the last 4 out of 5 cuts. And he's played this tournament plenty. I didn't get a pull, but at least 5 times. He's made the cut 4 out of the 5 times. Let's go look, just for my own curiosity. The guy's been around a while, so let's go plug the Valero. So yeah, he's played it 5 times. Missed a cut only once. That was the most recent. You can see back. I mean, that's so long ago. See what he's done with the putter here. So again, if the putter goes for him, he needs the putter. He doesn't hit the ball far. Let me click on it one more time. See what he's been doing. Yeah, so he's very accurate. Hits at 290. 70% almost accuracy. Not a terrible putter over the last 12 months. You see that here over his career. He typically gains there. Okay, around the green, it's the irons. It looks like it's his big fall spot. Sung Kang, I thought was interesting. Of course, I'm probably thinking of, the win he had at, I believe it was the AT&T Byron Nelson. I'm going to go verify that, where he just had like the greatest ball striking round I've ever seen. I think he was either 300 or 400 to 1 to win that tournament. Again, whenever I miss a guy, high eyes, that's why you guys will always see I'm always kind of focused on the high odds. But anyways, you can see over his last 12 rounds, he's making birdies. He's got a good tournament history here. For 6,200, made 4 out of the 5, had a T6. His recent form has been very hit or miss. A T26 at the Waste Management, Puerto Rico, a T22. Miscut at recent at the Corrales, Valspar, Honda. Let's go click on Sung Kang real quick. So I'll just go verify. So yeah, the AT&T Byron Nelson, of course, that's in Texas. Let me see where else he's done. So the Valero, there's at 6, one of his best finishes on PGA history. Arnold Palmer. So he's handled some big boy courses. There's my RBC. But you can see, I mean, either he's on or off. If you ever watch that guy swing, he swings pretty violent. So that makes a lot of sense why these are not the greatest. Oh, you can see also he went nuts with the putter, but like I said, he had a great ball striking week too. See what he's been doing here. So Valspar, wow, lost 8 strokes with the putter, but before that he gained almost 4. So it's just very hit or miss with him. Hence why he's priced where he's at and does. All right, I'm gonna go through these rest of these guys pretty quick. Camilo, last 2 tournaments, pretty good showing here. Typically a very good iron player, and with the driver. Of course, had a great previous back in the, these days, back in the era, he played some really solid golf. But, like I said, I'm pretty much just going on, made 3 out of his last 5 cuts, and he has a decent course history here. So, again, I think, if you're looking for someone down there that is going to be a differentiator, you can play Camilo. Richard Wawrinski, right? I was on him from to win tournaments at a long shot when we were back on some of the more technical, smaller tracks, but you can see, pretty good on all the areas I'm looking for, again, for this price. He had a T21 at Valspar, he popped out or showed up. And you can see he's played there 3 times, had a T11 in 2018. So, again, you could do worse. And then Kyle Stanley is purely on here, not the best recent form by any stretch, but he's played a ton of golf here, as in, and he's made a lot of cuts. So that's all I'm going to say about Kyle Stanley, is that he has course history here and he's done pretty well. So if you're going to play Charlie Hoffman, you could, I'm not saying it's as good as Charlie Hoffman, but, terrible recent form, decent course history. So, all right, I think that's enough. And I'll summarize that for you guys when I jump back over. Let's go talk about ownership projections. Okay, so still in Fantasy National, I am looking at ownership projections. We have a ton of data. So this is the one I look at. We have 11,000 generated lineups coming out of Fantasy Nationals. That's a pretty good sample size. We're going to want to keep a focus over here. This is the actual from the lineups generated. And no shocker, Rory's at 26%. I also want to give a little PSA announcement. I've always been very upfront with you guys when I feel like I feel really good about my picks and I know the guys that I want to play. I'm actually kind of, and which you're probably going to hear this from quite a bit of the analysts out there, the guys that do this. I can see this going either way. I think I'm still going to stick in the lane of I don't care about distance, I care about accuracy. Um, but I'm just telling you that I guess on a good note, that I feel like a long shot could win this tournament. I feel like it's not that strong of a field. Even at the top, if you really break down the guys there at the top, I think they all have their issues to some degree. I think Rory is here for a Masters warm up. That's it. You can look at Bryson DeChambeau injured. We have no idea, and also I don't think he's been playing that good at golfing before he was injured. You've got Hideki Matsuyama pulled out of the players, injured. So what I'm getting to is that I'm building some lineups that are starting like at like 9K, 8K. I'm a little more balanced. I'm building some lineups that are my plotters, kind of very technical guys. I'm building some lineups that are pure bombers. And what that tells me when I'm kind of all over the board, that, like I said, I'm just saying I'm not completely focused. Probably the thing that I'm most interested in, which you probably understood, is what is Cameron Champ going to do here? That literally, I'm putting a lot of lineups with him. I'm also, got some money on him from a betting perspective. So all I'm stating to you guys, maybe also I'm a little focused, even thinking about the Masters, right? We've had the players, then we had one of my favorites, the match play, and then you kind of got this Valero smushed into it, which I'm kind of, the course to me is kind of blah. I think that the whole thing is just not super exciting. So sorry, I wanted to just get that out there that if you have a lane that you want to go in, go with it. But like I said, I'm telling you that from a GPP large tournaments, I'm just kind of building lineups that are, like I said, very eccentric on different skill sets. All right. With that said, of course, I already mentioned Rory. You got Corey Connors, right? I mean, he's played a ton of golf. Great form, we just saw. But he's going to be about 20% owned. So, Gary Woodland has really come on here, showing that he's got some life, finally should be fully healthy. He's highly owned. You got Adam Hadwin, who's had some, good recent form. I think Patty Kazire is very interesting that he's going to be 17% owned. And I want to just go look at this for myself because the one thing about Patty is he can go crazy wild off the tee. As you see right here, it's off the tee, and here you cannot be wild off the tee. His irons have been doing well. The putter has been very sporadic. And you guys know that I know Patty Kazire very well. I guess I picked him as a top 15, which is, I'm just very interested that people are also kind of in that ball game. I think we're all kind of saying, well, last year when you came to Texas, you went nuts. I mean, if we look at this kind of here, the Charles Schwab, the Byron Nelson, the Valero, he had a ninth, he just kind of kicked it off. And, I guess we're all thinking he can just play really good in Texas. So where I'm going with all that is I'm going to have to make a decision. I don't know if I want to play Patty Kazire again from a tournament large GPP perspective at 17% owned at $8,000. So Chris Kirk, that makes sense. 16%, great course history. Well, very spiky, right? Very Jekyll and Hyde. Either he's top 5 or he misses the cut. So let me see. I want to go see something real quick here because I feel like it was every other, and I want to see where it lands. All right, so there you go. Miscut 8th, miscut 6th. So technically, if you're going with the trend, you should miss the cut. So there you go, at 16%. Streelman, of course, same thing. Pretty decent recent form. Great course history. Mino Piero, that's interesting to me. At 15%, I'm not sure. Drives the ball pretty accurate, but he just had that crazy spike with the putter. You can see it right here, but it's kind of went away, right? So you had this right here, and that was on Bermuda. Got the POA kind of still gain. The Phoenix was Bermuda. The Genesis, I mean, I guess you're looking at the body of work over the long time, but has he ever actually played the Valero? No, that's Valspar. I don't know. I'm not playing any Mito Pierre. I'll just tell you that right now, especially at 15%. So I'd rather play Matthew Neesmith. I think, showed almost won at the Valspar. Great ball striker. Yeah, you got to have the putter go. He's also super chalky. Luke List, no shocker. McNeely, I told you guys, I like him on shorter tracks, so I'm not playing him here. Johnny Vegas, I think, makes sense. Spieth, I'd be shocked if Spieth is that highly owned, just because, like I said, I mean, let's go take a look at real quick on Jordan, because I didn't do this prior. All right, so if you see what Jordan did, if we just start the year off, missed a cut at the Farmers, and then he really got on a hot streak, ball striking. He was making putts. I mean, look at this, like fourth, third, 15th, fourth. The players, whatever, and then wins the Valero, then comes out and kind of backdoors. Well, I mean, I take that back. That was actually the Patrick Reed year, so it was 2018. But has a third at the Masters. I mean, he was playing great golf. Now let's kind of fast forward to this year. A 21st out of 38 guys. Remember that. Miscut at the Farmers. So he showed up at Pebble Beach, which he does very well, but that's such a different track. And then a 60th, a 26th, and a miscut, which I'm not going to hold a lot. But and then, of course, if you watch the Dell match play, nothing great there. But long story short, 10-6 for in a 13%. No, thank you. I would rather play Abe Answer, even though he doesn't have the best. Even though he, as I mentioned, this is his practice course, lives there. But I think he's had a bunch of T30s here. So, that's where I'm at. DeChambeau, no way. I think you can almost fade, honestly, the top tier. I think you could literally start in the 9s, and you're probably going to be better off. That's my gut feeling. Party Mar Tony Finau, I think, has shown not even a glimmer of hope except for one match against Xander in match play. Let's go look at Tony Finau. He's missed a cut 3 out of the 4. His last decent showing was back in the FedEx Cup, which was last summer, fall. Nothing. And I'm not even looking at that Century because, again, you're out of 38 players. So you ended up middle of the pack, not even. The putter's always been a disaster. Off the tee's not been that great. I mean, he had a good showing with the irons at the Genesis. So I'll tell you guys right now, I'm putting one lineup in with the totally off the wall, the Finau, Day, Fowler. Just put that kind of crazy lineup just in case. It's kind of my hedge, but that's the only way I'll be playing any of those guys. All right, back to recent form, guys. Knox, Steele, good course history. Sahith, I believe I bet him. I think I even told you guys to bet him. So I'm more of a betting perspective, but he's had a good showing at the Sanderson Farm, so I do like. I'm sure I'll sprinkle Lucas Glover. I'm a Lucas Glover fan. Ryan Palmer, purely a play with course history. He's been, not good recent form. You can put it right there with Charlie Hoffman. So it's funny, Charlie Hoffman's below 7% right now. I'll be curious how that all shakes out. My Austin Smotherman, some people are pretty excited about him. You got Doug Gim, of course, also. I think he played at University of Texas. I know he's a Texas kid, but, shows up at the Players. So just put a note down. At the Players, play Doug Gim. That's all I would do. Nick Taylor, the model's liking him. He's been, playing good golf, so that's where that's at. Got my Brian Stewart. Ricky Fowler at 6%, right? Ricky's got to win to get in the Masters. That's it. That's the only way he's getting in. I think that's 2 years in a row he'll miss. Alex Smalley, I don't think it's a bad play. I like Troy Merritt too. 7,300. Dylan Fratelli, right? I told you to bet him. Local guy. He could get super hot. He's got the pop on his bat. If you're putting a Bombers lineup, Dylan Fratelli is a bomber. I know people don't want to think that, but I mean, he averages over 304 yards, and typically it's longer than that. So he fits a bomber lineup. You got Lahiri, who had his spike at the Valspar. Kramer Hickok, he is a Texan. I like him. I'm playing a bit of him. Guido Mazzoli, if you are using Fantasy National or anything else, of course you should know this, but the data is old and wrong. I mean, his game has been horrific. If somehow Guido Migliozoli goes out and has a top 10, whoever has him in his lineups, that is going to be a huge differentiator. I told you I like Denny McCarthy, even though the modeling does not say that, but I just like his game around the green putting, and I just need him to be okay off the tee and irons. Lanto, right, won the Houston Open 2 years ago now, so he's done well in Texas. He's very hit or miss lately, so do with that what you may. All right, I think I'm gonna flip this around for you real quick to see the least owned, and then we're gonna move on. All right, so these are all the lower guys. Kelly Craft. I'm just seeing if there's anybody in here that's like so low owned that I think Andrew Novak. Of course, he's a Corn Ferry grad. Is a little interesting. Kevin Tway. I didn't even look at him. Let's go look at Kevin Tway real quick. So he's got the distance. His accuracy is a little It seemed like he was playing pretty decent. So that's funny. You can see his putter is typically not that great, but he has been gaining with the putter. The irons have been brutal. Seems like he showed up on the Houston Open. Well, that's a while ago. Trying to remember when he last kind of showed up. He had a little run here too at the Barbasol, John Deere, the Rocket Mortgage. Kind of interesting. Just wanted to point that out, I guess. Bill Haas, he's been making cuts. Let me go take a look at Bill Haas. Old school Haasy boy. 300, pretty accurate. Yeah. So he's made the last, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's made the last 6 out of 7, right? Yeah, 6 out of 7 cuts. So if you need a cheap play that feels like he's just been getting through every, like a safe condom play, I think Bill Haas is not a bad way to go. All right. Seth Reeves pounds the ball long off the tee. That's about it. Robert Streb, he kind of showed up there for a while. Like I said, I like the king. Did I just see Fratelli? No. Peter Molinari. He's got to do it with the putter. All right. I think that's enough. You've got a good understanding of where the chalk is and where some of the chalk is not. All right. Let's go talk weather. Of course, you're going to jump on Windfinder, and you're going to want to pull up to San Antonio International Airport. That's about the closest location, if I remember correctly. I'm pulling up the super forecast. So this just gives you an hour by hour breakdown. So if you want to, it's nothing, I don't think there's anything significant on the opening day right now. It's saying it's going to be pretty calm. Probably the calmest day, I think, if I remember correctly. So, but typically if I do first round leaders, as in, betting, I do like the guys that go out in the morning wave on opening Thursday. That's just me. Typically you get one guy out of like the very early mornings, and then you're going to have the one guy in the afternoon that either, ties them or beats them. That's just what I've noticed. And Friday is where the wind starts. So, you could kind of look and say, well, maybe I want to build a PM/AMs because at least you might get a couple hours. I mean, it's steady blowing into teens when it gets in the afternoon, but it's got these spike gusts. So, who knows? You might want to get creative with that. I think it was this tournament where I think it was a 4-stroke difference a while back. I don't remember what year that, the AM/PM kind of thing actually worked out pretty well. All right, let me go look at Saturday and Sunday for us just real quick while we're here. Of course, you can do this on your own. I'm just looking while I'm here. Saturday, pretty calm, nothing crazy. And Sunday. So, looks like Friday is going to be the windiest day. That's at least what's showing now. Of course, you play Showdown. Pretty much once you put your lineups in, if you're just playing 4-day Classic, you don't need to ever look at it. If you're playing Showdown, you're going to want to look at it. All right, let's wrap this up and get you guys on your way. Okay, to summarize my top plays, 7K and below. Again, that was Cameron Champ. This is either going to go, like I said, really great or horrific. I'm just hoping, crossing my fingers, that this is the tournament for the year 2022 that Cameron Champ decides he wants to win, and it just all comes together. Going to need the putter, going to need irons. His short game, too, at times can be spooky. But, he's a lead off the tee, and he's accurate, and he keeps it low. So we'll see. That's the guy that I'm putting in a lot of my lineups if I'm below 7K. Of course, and I tell you again, he is a member of this course, lives local, and hopefully that's going to help us. JJ Spawns, which has been playing really good, solid golf. I look at JJ Spawn for me as kind of the guy, almost like a Bill Haas, the guy that I feel like for sure can get me my 6 of 6 through the weekend, but I'm not looking for anything above a 40th, top 40, 30. Austin Smartling, I think he's got the upside, right? So now here's a guy that I think he's, from the Corn Ferry, local kid, Texan, played at SMU. I'm guessing he's played this track enough, should be comfortable. And he's also, I think, elite tee to green. It's just got to get that chipper and putter going. So I think he's got the upside play out of these guys. Same with Svensson here. Again, elite tee to green. Just please make 3-foot putts, and you could end up, top 10. And then last but not least, I got my Nate Lashley, who, I just think that this kind of course fits his game. And, he's been showing a little bit of recent form. And when he does putt well, it is typically on Bermuda. So that is my top 5 plays from 7K and below for you guys. Real quickly, I did one and done yesterday. I'm going to do it real fast again. Here's my one and done plays. Of course, you can see the guys over the past 5 years who've gained the most strokes. You've got the Hoffmans, the Connors, the Chappells. A lot of these guys, you just got to watch recent form. But you never know. Charlie Hoffman, I remember Brian Gay. Perfect example. Brian Gay at Bermuda. When he plays Bermuda, he's done amazingly. I think he's won it. So I think this was 2020 or 19. Had no form, missed every cut, goes to the course that he plays very well and wins it. I think he was 300-400 to 1. So what I'm saying is it's not going to shock me if Charlie Hoffman, for some odd reason, comes out here and puts a good performance together. Also, what's very interesting about Charlie Hoffman is that he was at the Waste Management, right? And he had his opening day, which he typically plays pretty well there at TPC Scottsdale, if I remember correctly. And comes up, shoots like a 6-7 under opening round. Puts that tweet out kind of, a little bit jumping on the Phil Mickelson train about, the Super Tour, the Dubai Tour, whatever the hell. And then he went just straight downhill. And his game's been straight downhill since that. So I don't know if that has something to do with it. I don't know why Charlie Hoffman has just been trash. But I'm just stating that I think he's an interesting bet, 75 to 1 still, I think. And I think he's an interesting, play, depending on where ownership, I think was at 8%, less than 8%. So I'm going to sprinkle some Hoffman in. I'll probably even play him Thursday Showdown. I feel like he'll have a good opening day on Showdown. We'll see. All right. So you can see all the rest of the guys, some Texans. You got just local, of course. You got the Spieth. You got the Glover, the Ryan Palmer. With that said, here's the guys that I'm looking at for one and done. Like I said, Corey Connors makes all the sense, but it's going to be super chalky from one and done, but I don't care. I just need a guy to give me, either a win or a top 10. You got the Hoffman, who would be, I think, a little, I don't know, I want to say sneaky, but I don't know how many guys will plug him for one and done. So you got to make that decision like I just did. Is he going to Brian Gay Bermuda it, as he typically does? Or is he just, his swing is so far gone that even at a comfortable course like this for him, that is nothing. Of course, Kirk, it's either he's top 10 or missed a cut. Streelman, great history. Both these guys have been pretty decent recent form. And then you got Glover, if you want to shake things up and need to move up the board and would be a lower ownership kind of guy. Okay, with that said, that is it for my Valero Texas shows. And I want to thank you for spending this time with me. Hopefully this helps you guys out. Hopefully out of all that you learned a nugget or two that helps you. If you would so greatly do me the honor clicking that like button. If you're not a subscriber, I need that subscribe base to keep growing, to keep doing this. So click that subscribe button. And also, while you're at it, tell me who you're going to win the Masters, and you could win $100. Get you, some entries free into the Masters. You got the Million Maker next week. I think it's $15. I think it's like 300,000. Like it's like playing in the Million Maker for football. So it's going to be interesting with that. And then, of course, follow me on Twitter. I will keep you guys up to date or anything that I see going on. And with that said, best of luck at the Valero, and I look forward to talking to you guys about the Masters. I'm working on it a little bit as we speak, so I might even have something sooner than Monday, but we'll see how it all works out. All right, guys, take care, and talk to you guys next week.